All right, Shady Siders. Welcome back to Based on a Book, the podcast that continues to traumatize one of its hosts. Can you guess which one? I'm Keri, and I'm channeling my inner Lindsey today.
I'm Lindsey, and I'm the Smee of Scary.
I'm Crystal. I hate this podcast and everyone in it.
In this special episode, we're getting ready for the new Fear Street movie dropping May 23rd. To prep ourselves, we dove into Netflix's chilling Fear Street Trilogy and read Prom Queen by R.L. Stine, the book the new film is based on. Crystal, stop shaking your head.
I'm devastated over here.
Now we're ready to dive into all things Fear Street. Our nostalgic ties to the series, reactions to the movies, thoughts on Prom Queen book, and all our chilling theories, for what the new film might bring at the end of this month. I want to start with our personal history with R.L. Stine, who, according to his website, has been scaring people all around the world for a lot of years, selling over 400 million books. He wrote his first horror novel in 1986 and created the Fear Street series in 1989, which became the best-selling young adult series in history with over 100 books, and even more are even being published recently. In 1992, he began a series that many probably know called Goosebumps, which became a hit worldwide, including a series and a movie adaptation. From 2023 to now, R.L. Stine is even publishing comic books and graphic novels. There are even more adaptations, including the Haunting Hour series, which became a TV show, and, the Fear Street movies, which we will be covering today. On his website, there's actually like an entire bookshelf section of every single R.L. Stine book, including checklists, page numbers, publication dates, series each book is related to. It's super helpful if you want to see where you want to dive into next. I'm actually going to link it in the show notes. I thought it was actually pretty cool. But going through all of this and going through all of our R.L. Stine's backlist, I realized personally I kind of missed out on all the R.L. Stine hype as a kid. What about you guys?
That was my jam.
Oh, I know, Lindsey. I'm not even surprised. Yeah, Lindsey, what about you?
I've been reading R.L. Stine since probably elementary school. I used to get the books at the Scholastic Book Fair. And apparently I stole a book. Sorry, Brandon Weeks. I stole your Goosebumps.
It's written on the cover for anyone that's listening.
So, I've been reading this. I mean, this is circa 1994, and this is circa 1995. So, yeah, it's been a while.
How many do you think that you've read?
I can't even tell you. My favorites were always I think they're called Give Yourself Goosebumps. They're the Choose Your Own Adventure. And
okay.
I would literally read through it and make the decisions, and then I'd go read it again and make different decisions. They were my favorites. I read so many of them. I couldn't give you a number.
So you've read Goosebumps. Mm-hmm. Have you read Fear Street ones?
Not as many. I've mostly read the Goosebumps, but yeah, this one is a Fear Street. This is final grade. I think this is Fear Street number 30.
Mm-hmm.
So this is after Prom Queen.
Have you read anything like of his most recent stuff at all?
No, I haven't. I'll have to actually look into that.
Mm-hmm.
I probably haven't read any since middle school.
Yeah.
Probably not even high school.
Yeah. What about you, Crystal?
Fear Street was huge when I was right around that 7, 8, 9 age when it was first coming out. And so I was not allowed to read it because it was just a little bit too mature for me. And then about the time it was really, really popular and I was old enough to read it, I realized right away that this was not my jam. My little sisters, on the other hand, had a whole collection of Goosebumps and Fear Street, and they just loved this. So I read one or two, when I would go visit, and I would read it to them because that was my thing. Whenever I would go home to visit, I would read to my little sisters. And so this is one of the things that we read after we read some more age appropriate things. I just don't like this kind of stuff. It's not, so I don't have a ton of experience with it. And I felt a little out of my depth trying to read some of these, because I did go back and look at some of them, and I was just like, I don't know. They're definitely written for a younger audience.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't as scary to me now as an adult as it probably would have been then, but it just didn't really do anything for me.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think at the time when it was popular and I would have been the right age, I realized right away this isn't for me, you know?
Yeah. I think I kind of remember maybe picking up, like, a Goosebumps book when I was younger, but nothing, like, significant to where I can remember reading many of his books or anything like that. This is actually my first experience reading a Fear Street book ever. So that was really fun for me. And honestly, I love an author that has like a really big backlist. Like immediately, like my hoarder brain is just like, oh, I need to collect them and get them all. That's how I feel. Like I've been like researching so much for this episode where I'm like I see a checklist
Mhm.
of all the books and I'm just like I need all of them on my bookshelf immediately. And I'm such like a thrifter. Like I always go to secondhand bookshops all the time. So I'm like now this is like an extra thing I can go look at the shelves for. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." But yeah, this is definitely like a first experience for me personally. But the whole time I was reading these and watching these movies, the entire time I was like, "Oh, this is so like Lindsey, love this for Lindsey."
Yep.
Whole time I'm like, "Crystal, oh my god, Crystal." I the whole time I really wanted to message you and be like, "Are you okay? Checking in, Crystal. Are you doing well?"
Thank you. I appreciate your concern. These movies are way different from the books.
Yeah. So let's get into some adaptation stuff, starting with a little spoiler warning. From here on out, we will be diving into major plot details and twists from the Fear Street Trilogy and Prom Queen by R.L. Stine. So if you want to avoid spoilers, stop the episode now, watch the movies, read the book, and come back to us so you won't miss out on all the fun for some of us, not one of us. Note that the movies are graphic and gory and rated R, which is very different than its young adult books. Young adult books, Fear Street books are graphic, but not rated R slasher
Mm-mm.
movie graphic. So
Mm-mm.
please be aware of that going into the movies if you watch them.
For reference, I would let a 12-year-old, 13-year-old read the books. I would not let a 12 or 13-year-old watch the movies.
Yeah,
That's just,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So I want to get into this Fear Street trilogy first, starting kind of with a quick overview of what the Fear Street trilogy is, of like what Netflix did with this trilogy, which we kind of picked up this trilogy because, they're coming out with a new movie. This trilogy is technically not based on a specific story, right?
No, it's
It's
inspired by.
it's inspired by the prequel trilogy. It's like the Fear Street Saga spin-off,
Mhm.
which specifically talks about Shady Side and how it came to be. That's like the fears, the goods, all that stuff, and the rivalry between them. That's kind of what they're playing off of in this trilogy, but it's not based off a specific story, kind of like what its new spin-off Prom Queen is going to be. So we watched all three movies to kind of prep ourselves for this new release. And I'm just going to kind of go an overview of what they're about. So it's three different parts: 1994, 1978, 1666. Part one, and they're all related to each other. Part 1 is about a group of teens in the cursed town of Shadyside discovers that their community's gruesome history of mass murders is tied to a witch named Sarah Fear. When a group of killers returns from the dead, they must uncover the truth to survive. Then it goes to Part 2, back in time to 1978. The story flashes back to 1978 at Camp Nightwing, where a summer camp turns deadly as another massacre unfolds. The origins of the curse become clearer as the current day teens from Part 1 learn more about Sarah Fear's past. And then we jump to Part 3 in 1666, where the final part travels back in time to 1666, revealing the origins of the curse. Tells the story of Sarah Fear herself, the events that led to her being labeled as a witch, and then the truth about who actually cursed Shadyside is uncovered, and the trilogy returns back to 1994 for a final showdown with like the main villain of the story. So that's kind of an overview of all three
That was a really
parts.
good overview.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Does that
you.
quite nicely.
So in my
Nightmare fuel.
head, yeah. So in my head, I kind of have a ranking of all three movies. Watched all three movies. Which ones I enjoyed the most I mean, personally to me, I felt like Netflix was in their bag with these
Yeah.
movies.
Honest,
They were
even
in
okay.
their bag.
Everyone knows Crystal doesn't do scary.
Yeah.
I liked these movies. They were terrifying. I
Mhm.
am having nightmares. I don't, but I enjoyed them. I hated them. I hated them. They were
Mhm.
awful, but also kind of the best.
Yeah, like they were low key kind of like smart
Yes.
and like
Yeah.
entertaining and just like kind of fun and
And
just like a
also
vibe.
like the 1994 to the 1978, whatever
Yeah.
that was. It like those two like eras with the soundtracks and the pop culture references, like
Mhm.
that's my jam. As an 80s baby, 90s kid, like loved that, you know? And so like it kind of matched that vibe, that perfect like the 1994 and the Shadyside Mall and the like the look of the mall and the clothes they were it was
Immediately the bookstore coming in and we've got like the different even just like the different books that were in the
and the
bookshop.
Gadzooks. There was a Gadzooks and I was
Mhm.
like just a little Crystal history. One of my first ever grown-up jobs was at a Gadzooks. All I did was fold t-shirts. But like so it was really like it I felt like taken back. Like we were
Mhm.
immersed in that and it was so well done. Although the music didn't necessarily match with the 1994 year, it was still really, really enjoyable.
Mhm.
The books in the bookstore, they were written by Robert Lawrence, which is what RL stands for.
Mhm.
So I liked that. There were so many small little details that they put in.
Mhm.
This
I
was really good.
I noticed that and I noticed a couple small little details throughout and I'm hoping that they do the same for Prom Queen, that they sprinkle
Mhm.
some of the like small little random things that don't necessarily matter but are fun to see. I hope we see that in Prom Queen too.
Yeah, I even at the end part 3 where she's wearing all the books
Mhm.
Mhm.
as like a shield,
Mhm.
I whenever she took that off, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Love that.
Yep.
So good." Yeah, I just like the vibes were just fun. The soundtrack is so good. I mean, there was definitely I know in like the 1978 one, there was like different like phrases that they were using that I was like, the things that they were saying, I was like, "Okay, this doesn't feel like that's 78, but it's fine, whatever." Like, they were
Yeah,
doing a little much. There was, like, a phrase they was, like, saying things that was, like, very, like, 60s.
I
Yeah.
think one of the characters used the phrase shagadelic.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I was like, okay.
Sure. Yeah, there were a couple of
Interesting."
moments like you could tell that they changed the language, they changed the music, they changed so like
Mhm.
when they took you back to the 70s, they tried to get the 70s vibe. And it's the same with the 90s, right? Cuz like we discussed it earlier. the music from the 1994 movie, some of it actually, like, it was clearly trying to fit the 90s vibe, but it came out after 1994. So if you're looking for like perfect authentic, this isn't it. If you're looking for the vibe, though, they got it right. And they did that with the 70s movie too. They got that 70s vibe really well.
Yeah, for sure. So I want us to each like rank like favorite to least favorite, even though we all enjoyed it. But like, what was like your top one out of the three, and then like your least favorite at the bottom? Like, to me, my ranking, my top favorite was 1978. Part two, that was the top. Love that one. So, so good. Second favorite was 1994. Third favorite was 1666.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, you
Yeah.
got that right. And the thing is, I want to say that like 1666 was my favorite because it ties everything kind of
Yeah.
together and you start to see the pictures. And I like that, but you wouldn't have even needed that without like the Camp Nightwing and like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think you're right.
Something about Camp Nightwing. I was like,
Yes.
that was peak. That was peak out of all three. Like, I think, well, so part one is very much like Scream vibes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part
There
one
was
is very,
definitely the scene where he's chasing her and grabs her from behind and stabs her, which is like almost scene for scene from the first
Mhm.
Scream with Drew Barrymore's character.
Yeah.
They changed the stab scene slightly because I think in Scream he reaches around and stabs her from the front, and in this one I think he stabs her in the back. But yeah, that's
It's yeah.
Scream.
Even with, there's the calling as well, a lot of like situations like that.
That was, but okay. So I was alive during the 90s. And I remember the scary movies that were out during the 90s, and I did watch a couple at the time when they came out. And I can say that 1994 didn't just set the scene of the 1990s, but it really kind of fit the very typical 1990s scary movie progression, that framework.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of what really took me back too. I loved this. I love these.
Yes! Yes!
You guys are getting me into scary movies, and I don't know how I
We
feel about
scared
that.
her, but she loved it.
Here's the problem, though. I'm gonna go to bed tonight after talking about this, and I'm not gonna sleep. I'm gonna listen to all the sounds going around outside my apartment, and I'm gonna think, is that a killer? Is that Ruby Lane? Is that
You
who's
hear
singing out the
lullabies.
right?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Nobody better be singing outside your window.
I'm telling you, is that Tommy? Like, it's not gonna be good.
Yeah. Part two is very much Friday the 13th, very Camp Crystal Lake with Jason running around. Okay, I have a confession. I've actually never seen Friday the 13th.
Me neither. Join the
But
club.
I have this thing where I love watching people do like gameplay all the time. I love watching people do video games, and one of my favorite things to watch is people play the Friday the 13th video game.
Not the original or the original? Like the old school 8-bit or the more recent
The
one?
more recent one.
Okay.
I love watching people stream that and play that. And so I'm just like obsessed with watching that. So then that's the only way I know any type of lore about it. So whenever I was watching the movie, I was like, yes, this is the vibe. This is the vibe. I just love like a summer spooky vibe.
The summer slasher movie. Yeah.
Summer slasher, like that is the way to go for me. I love that. So good.
Kane Hodder was my favorite Jason, and I have his autograph.
Wow.
But it's funny, Jason Voorhees isn't my favorite, even though I know a lot about Friday the 13th.
You're like, I have his autograph, but I don't really like him.
Is that my well? Kane Hodder is my favorite Jason, but Jason's not my favorite serial killer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So part three, according to the director, they compare it to The New World, which I haven't seen that, so I couldn't tell you how accurate that is. So also, all three movies came out in 2021, and they all came out like same month, like right after the other. And I'm just like thinking about like, oh my gosh, like that would be so much fun to experience all of these coming out at the same, like what was I doing in 2021 not living it up watching these movies with everybody else?
We were at work.
Yeah. I'm disappointed in myself. Disappointed in myself. And the cast was great. I want to talk about the cast because acting, top tier, absolutely loved it. I'm actually surprised. There were two cast members. I only recognized two cast members from Stranger Things. Sadie Sink, who is mostly in part 2 and a little bit in part 3 whenever they flash back, and Maya Hawke, who's in it for 1 second in part 1. See her, she's like the first person that's killed off in part 1. Which is, I was literally shocked by. I was like, oh my gosh, Maya Hawke's in it. She's probably like a big name person that's going to be in it for a lot of this movie. Gone. See ya.
Drew Barrymore.
Gone in a
Just like Drew
second.
Barrymore.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's a lot of like, I mean, the girl who plays is what's her name? Dina?
Mhm.
Dina.
Yeah. Dina, the main character, one of the main characters. I think she does an incredible job throughout all these movies, and the girl who plays Sam does such a great job. I just like really loved it. I was like so invested in all the relationships, all the characters, uh with the girl who plays C. Berman and like the sister relationship in part 2. I loved it. What do you guys think about the cast?
I didn't recognize anyone, but that's just because I don't watch a ton of newer stuff until you guys force me to. So
Mhm.
I didn't recognize anybody, but there was at no point was I taken out of the story because it wasn't believable, like, or the acting wasn't believable, which happens so much even with bigger name actors. You know, sometimes they just don't quite hit it, and so you don't fall into the story. But with all of the acting in this, I fell right into the story. It was all believable. They were the character they were portraying, and it was really awesome, especially from the 1994 storyline to the 1666 storyline. We see some of the same actors playing different characters
Mhm.
because they're like flashing back or being shown, you know, the true story or whatever. And no, it even took me a second to realize that's what was happening because they were playing the character so well. I was like, oh wait, that's isn't she say that's Sam? Like, you know, it took me a
Yeah.
second to catch it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really genuinely a sign of some great acting, is that they played
Mhm.
multiple parts in the same series and I didn't even freaking notice at first, you know?
Yeah, whenever they were so in the part 3, 1666, they're flashing back, like you said, to Sarah Fear trying to figure out everything that's going on in the past that's originally caused this curse. And all of like the people in the past that's like their bloodline are
Mhm.
played by the actors in parts 1 and 2. Which I thought was, like, so good
Yes.
and so fun. I really enjoyed that, and I thought it was I just love that. I've seen that happen before in other movies, but
Back to the Future.
yeah. Yep.
This really had like hardcore Back to the Future vibes and it was amazing.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's true, that's true.
I was thinking more of The Village, but yeah.
Yeah,
We'll go
sure.
with
Well,
that
because
one.
like, okay, so in Back to the Future, they filmed all 3 parts back to back to back and then released them, I think, a year apart. But they were all filmed continuously using the same actors in 3 different timelines.
Mhm.
4 different timelines. 4 different timelines. So it's kind of the same style, right? We have these 3 different timelines, but we get the same characters through each of the timelines. Well, through 2 of the timelines. But it's really still kind of neat, especially since they were all they had to have been filmed together to have been released as quickly as they were together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I am curious before we get into a little game that we're going to play. The ending is kind of leaves not necessarily like a cliffhanger. The ending of the third movie or part three, not necessarily a cliffhanger, but there is this moment at the very end of part three where everything comes out that Seraphir is not the one that's cursing everyone in Shady Side. It's actually the goods, which is originally started with, I can't remember,
Solomon.
Solomon.
Solomon. Started with Solomon Good, and then its entire bloodline has always been cursing Shady Siders since then. And using this book that's basically like contacting Satan to make a sacrifice.
Right. Some sort of grimoire or something.
Yeah, yeah. So at the end, basically, they finally get rid of this guy, but the book is grabbed away at the
Hmm.
end. So I'm wondering if either you have any theories of like who took this book at the end.
I don't think it matters. But I think the idea of the book is that even though we end up finding out that it was Solomon Good and the Good family that ultimately used the book itself is the evil. The
Mhm.
book itself is the problem.
Yeah.
So that doesn't end the story, right? Until the book is destroyed,
Mhm.
anybody can pick this up again, which I think is going to help hopefully bring more Fear Street movies to us.
Yeah. Definitely, because I need them. I
I
need them
honestly loved
bad.
this so much. And it was an excellent date night movie. I watched the first one with a date, and it was really fun, especially since we're right around the same age, so we were totally vibing with the 90s stuff.
Mhm.
Um I watched the other two alone, and seriously, I still hate you guys for that.
I
And I
would
need
not wanna
more.
watch these alone. Okay,
No.
so the second one, actually, the second one I love. I love the second one, but it was honestly, to me, out of the 3, the most gruesome
Mhm.
because I could not believe that they were killing kids. The
Mhm.
killing kids actually sent me. I
That
was like,
was
"Wow, that they're actually killing, like, young children in
it was
this."
pretty messed up, but the in the first one with the meat slicer or the bread,
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
the hell that was,
Mhm.
The bread
Yeah, that was
cutter.
bad.
the
Yeah, the bread
yeah,
cutter.
yeah, no. I was like, "Oh, they won't show it. They won't show it." They showed it.
Oh, yeah, they showed every little
They
slice and
showed it.
bit of meat on
I
that one.
covered my head and made my date, like, tell me when it was clear, and I was like, "Are you sure?" He was like, "Yeah, do you want me to pause it? Do you need to take a break?" And I was like, "Maybe." It was so bad.
It was funny because there was actually a big debate on whether or not a bread cutter could do that, so they practiced. And there was only one person who was like, "Oh, this is going to work. This is going to work." And yeah, it worked.
Lindsay's like,
Worked.
"It was funny."
Having worked someplace where we had, like, meat slicers and bread cutters and all that stuff is incredibly freaking sharp. I did
They were
not
the
doubt
ones they were the ones that cheered when it actually worked. So,
Mhm.
I don't think I would cheer.
Yeah, that one was pretty that was
But, like, the axe, Tommy and
rough.
Camp Nightwing with the axe, and they were just showing heads split open like melons. It was in
Yeah. I
I
just, like, could not
mm-mm.
believe, like, little kids, like, they were young kids.
that was the biggest difference between the first movie and the second movie is that in the first movie they explain the killers are only after the people who came into contact with the witch's bones.
Right.
But in the second one, he was just killing anybody.
Yeah.
Well, but in the first one, the first killer in the very opening scenes at the mall was killing
Mhm.
just anyone they could get their hands on.
Yes.
And so I think those are two separate things that
Yes.
happen. You know what I mean?
Mm. They
So
were
like
also in the mall. And what else was in the mall?
the tree.
the bones.
Which was crazy. Like, putting that so, wow, we're gonna put this tree that, like, literally traumatized every single person that has all this terrible thing that happened to everyone in the middle of this mall. Keep
Also,
it there.
there's no way that tree was 300 years old and looking as healthy as it was in the mall. There are plenty of trees in the world that do live many, many, many years, hundreds of years, but like your typical oak or elm tree is not one of them.
Mhm.
Just saying.
Well, okay,
I
so
was like, there is no way that is the tree from 1660. Like the minute they shot back to that, I was like,
yeah.
that's
Well,
when they
okay,
lost me.
so back to so I think the reason why we have, like, Sam was being chased by all the killers because she
Because she
wasn't
came into contact with the
yeah, she
bones.
came in
Bled.
contact
And then
with
her,
the
yeah,
bones, but she wasn't someone that was being sacrificed.
right. So, well, because, okay, so we have the good family curse, right? The
Yeah.
goods that are they're putting the names up for someone to become a serial killer, right? And
Mhm.
then that person is like possessed by the devil, and the devil
Mhm.
uses them to kill people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then we have Sarah Fear's curse, and there was one. You
Mhm.
come in contact with her bones, she is going to haunt you, or she's going to try to show you, right? She tried to show them what happened.
Mhm.
But then the goods, the Satan possessed people were like, we can't let the story out, so now we have to kill the person who knows the story or who saw part of it, whoever Sarah told.
Yeah.
And so that's why anybody who had Sarah, like, if because the blood got on the bone, and so then it
Mhm.
was their blood that the serial killers were after.
Mhm.
And so if you bled on someone else, then they were going to come after you, and it was
Except they
also
also killed the people in the hospital, which they may or may not have come in contact with Sam and her blood. Who knows?
well,
Mhm.
But
and let's just point out that, like, I don't understand how someone was getting blood everywhere on everything. It was like, oh, my blood is on my shirt, and now it's also on your shirt, and now I drop it on your shoes. And like, girl, if you're bleeding, stand still. Let's clean this up.
Mhm.
Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bloodborne pathogens are real, folks. Let's.
True.
I've taken too many first aid trainings to know, like, why you let your blood just get everywhere like that. Freaked me
All
out.
over the mall. It's all over the mall.
I was like, y'all did not get the, like, AIDS education that I got in the 90s. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, they knew
Yeah.
better. They all knew better too.
Yeah. All right. So now it's time for a game I created called
Traumatized Crystal. Sorry.
The Final Slashdown. Also Traumatized Crystal. It's the
Final slash down.
Final Slashdown.
Doo-doo-doo-doo. Oh Lord.
So, in the movies, like we said, we encounter many shady side killers. So, I created a tournament bracket where all the slashers will go against each other. We're going to vote and see which slasher would end up on top at the end. Now, these are the obvious slashers. Like, we're not putting the entire good family bloodline on here. All right. So just the obvious campy ones, but to be fair, they were technically all possessed and sacrificed to Satan by someone in the good bloodline. All right. So I'm going to give an example. So for like the first one, we're going to say like Humpty Dumpty killer versus the grifter. We're going to decide which one would win against each other. And then when we decide that, they'll move on to the next round and go against two other ones. And then they'll go against each other. And eventually we're going to get down to only one slasher who would just defeat them all. All right?
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right, let's start the final slashdown. Thanks, Lindsay.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm in it. Let's do it.
So I totally shuffled these. So I don't even know what's being compared to what. So these might be completely obvious, but eventually they'll get more difficult. So I'm going to start with the first two slashers that will go against each other is the Camp Nightwing Killer, which we know is Tommy Slater from 1978 era. He uses an axe. He was the counselor who was turned into the murderous slasher at camp. And he's going to go against Billy Barker. It's from 1922. He uses a bat with spikes. He's that little
He was little.
creepy boy with a porcelain mask. His lore, he smashed his brother's head. He had several brothers. He smashed their heads while they slept with his bat with spikes. So they're going to
Okay.
go against each other.
I'm gonna say Tommy.
I'm going Tommy.
Yeah.
Because like, the whoever this is, the kid, Billy Barker, waited until his brothers were asleep. Tommy
Yeah.
had to chase people down.
Also, that's a kid. Like, he could literally, like, drop kick that kid. Okay?
Yep.
See ya. All right? This man has an axe. All right? He's gone. He's a little kid with a little mask. He's fine. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Next one. Going against each other in our tournament. The Skull Mask Killer, which is Ryan Torres in 1994. He was in the mall. He's the possessed mall employee, and he had a knife. Going against the pastor,
Ooh.
Cyrus Miller, from 1666. He was technically considered the first possessed killer, and he was gouged out the eyes of children. So we got to see who's going to win in this one.
I'm
Cyrus
going
Miller or the Skull Mask Killer.
I'm going Skull Mask.
I think you're right. Because literally Cyrus was taken down by being stabbed with a pitchfork, but
True.
But this dude's got a knife.
Skull Mask was smart. He was fast.
He's
he
fast.
Was brutal.
And I think the only reason the pastor got all those kids was that they were probably afraid to say no to the pastor at first. You know what I mean? Like, we're supposed to trust this guy.
I feel like he was more psychological than anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. All right, next up, we have the Milkman. The Milkman is Harry Rooker from the 1950s. Used a meat cleaver, would kill housewives while delivering milk and smiling. And if you remember, the way he was walking was scary. And whenever he was trying to attack them, when all the killers were going against each other, I did not like that man. Okay. Going against Ruby Lane.
Ooh.
Oh.
From 1965, she used a straight razor, sang lullabies as she cut her 7 friends and then eventually killed herself.
This is a hard matchup.
This is difficult.
Yeah, this one's hard.
So
I don't like the Milkman, man. I don't like him. He really scares me.
He was creepy.
He was creepy.
Like a straight razor versus a meat cleaver. Like, I think I'm gonna.
I feel like with a meat cleaver too, he could throw it, whereas a straight razor, even if she were able to throw it with great aim or whatever, like she's also smaller than him. He's probably got a bigger reach on her, so
she's probably faster.
She's probably faster. That's my only like hang up here.
Also, Ruby, I feel like, is more likable. Like,
Ruby definitely tried to sneak up on people. Yeah, she was would sneak up and like kind of work her way in, gaslight you into thinking she was nice, and then kill you.
Yeah,
whereas Milkman dude would just like get it done with.
Well, you would look at him and know he was creepy. Like,
yeah,
it's true.
Ain't no trick in there.
Just the way he would like smile and like slowly walk up to them, it's like terrifying.
I don't know on this one. I'm gonna say Milkman just because he's bigger, and I think she'd have to like really reach up pretty high to get to that throat.
I'm gonna have to go Milkman too.
I'm going Ruby.
Oh,
really?
Oh, interesting.
Even the way they treated her in the movies,
they were more
she was
scared
always
of her.
like the final boss. Like, they'd step aside and let her come through and do like the final kill.
That's so true. You're right.
Yeah, honestly. Oof. Okay, I'm switching to Ruby. I'm gonna switch to Ruby.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Okay, that actually makes complete sense. Okay, next one. Okay, we've got the Humpty Dumpty Killer. We never saw the Humpty Dumpty Killer. This was actually supposed to be in the 1994 movie, but it actually got cut. The Humpty Dumpty Killer's name appears on the wall in part 2 of the 1978 movie as a past murderer. The clippings on the newspaper say that he killed his victims by dismembering their body parts and would mishmash them, their different body parts together. That is the Humpty Dumpty Killer. We don't know what weapon they used, but that's how they dealt with their victims.
Okay.
Against the grifter from 1904, used a switchblade. He wears a skull mask, but it almost like looks like a gas mask. We saw him, kind of terrifying. His lore, going off newspaper clippings, targets single moms and murdered 4 women at a Shadyside tavern.
I don't like that guy.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So both of these are actually really scare me. I don't like either of these guys.
Nope. I don't know what to do here.
Mishmashing body parts of people, or the guy going after mothers.
You know what? Okay. So this Humpty Dumpty Killer with the mismatchy, for all we know, he just runs up to you and whacks you really fast. But like the grifter seems like he's insidious and would try to like.
He also uses a switchblade. I don't know if I said that or not.
You did.
I don't like that. The idea that he would like stalk me, figure me out, try to like, I don't like that. I would rather just be like off me right away. So I'm gonna say the Humpty Dumpty Killer is gonna come out on top in these two.
Yeah, the grifter, the mask though, the mask really scares me.
Freaky.
I don't like that mask.
He reminds me of Ryan Torres, so I assume his abilities would be very similar to Ryan Torres. So I'm assuming he's fast. I'm assuming he's smart and brutal.
Probably.
He did move really fast in the movie.
Do we know how many killers each, or how many murders each one of them did? That's where I'm like, well, maybe we just, it's obvious.
The grifter murdered 4 women.
Okay, but we don't know about the Humpty Dumpty Killer.
Yeah, we know very little about the Humpty Dumpty Killer.
Which means he's probably got away with an awful lot.
Or he was killed and only got like a few.
I don't know.
We don't know.
I'm going to trust Lindsay's judgment on this one.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I'm going grifter.
All right, let's go grifter. All right, now we're in our next round. Harder. Yeah. Next one. We're going to go the grifter versus Ruby Lane. So, grifter, a switchblade versus a straight razor. Grifter versus Ruby Lane. Oh, no. I don't know why I kind of want to say Ruby Lane.
I'm going Ruby Lane.
I think
say her.
The more I think on it, Ruby Lane is the one that everyone was scared of the most.
Yes, they were.
I'm thinking specifically 1994 when they're in the supermarket, the drugstore, and
everyone's kind of running around. Ruby.
Yeah, everyone's running around, and they literally stop, and she comes out of the back room.
Yeah,
like
Ruby,
and they hearing her sing, they're just terrified. Yeah. All right, let's go, Ruby. I like it. All right, this one is actually really hard for me. Skull Mask Killer versus the Camp Nightwing Killer.
A Camp Nightwing Killer, Tommy.
Yeah.
Tommy. Yep.
I'm gonna have to agree. I think I know who's gonna come out on top here.
I don't know, because now, last round.
Yep.
Tommy versus Ruby.
Yep, versus Tommy. Camp Nightwing Killer. I'm gonna have to go with Camp Nightwing Killer.
Yeah, I'm going Tommy on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Tommy moved kind of slow.
I felt like he was running so fast. In the movie, I was like, oh my gosh.
He was like stomping and coming. He swung the axe fast.
He did actually run though.
Yeah, he was running with that axe. And I was like, I hate that.
You don't normally see it, but yeah, he was running.
Yeah.
But nobody, okay, so also at the end of, like, when they're in the mall and they're all battling, Tommy got, like, choppered by the others pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all still scared of Ruby. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
She might be the...
It was the fact that Tommy was decapitated, but then still came back.
True.
Yeah.
Also, that axe has a much better reach on it than a straight razor would.
I totally agree. I don't know. I feel strongly about the Camp Nightwing Killer.
I
That
think
one
it's
really scares
wild
me.
that these two particular killers are back to back in the timeline too. Ruby Lane was the serial killer, and then the next one in the line of things was Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Ryan Torres, the mask. So okay, I think you're right. Probably Tommy. That axe really.
Yeah, the axe really, I think that's gonna be the end all.
It's mostly
Honestly.
because he gives Jason Voorhees energy, and he just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
He sure do.
Just doesn't die. And the way that, I don't know, like, he was, at one point, he was just, like, stomping with the axe. I'm like, "Oh, we can get away from this guy, no problem." And then one time he was sprinting with it. And I was like, "I can't get away from this guy. There's no way. This guy really freaks me out, and I don't like it." Well, whenever we were in part 2 and it was very obvious, I was like, "Okay, so we're learning this is, like, the origin story of the guy with the axe, right?"
Mhm.
And then there was a point where, like, he doesn't have, like, the sack over his head,
Yeah.
and then one point, they throw the
Mhm.
sack over his head, and it, like, comes together. Like, we all
Yep.
know that it's the guy, but just, like, you get who the killer looks like in the end.
Yep.
I don't know, it was so good. I just love that. It was so
I
good.
love how all the pieces were slowly started
Yeah.
coming together. It was really so well done.
And the burlap sack, Jason Voorhees had the burlap sack before he had the hockey mask. So that
Mhm.
was, yeah.
Yeah. Totally inspired. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have our final slasher who won. We've got our Camp Nightwing killer. Now that we have relived the trauma that was the Fear Street films,
Thank
let's
you.
talk about Prom Queen, which
Mhm.
is the newest Fear Street spin-off movie releasing by Netflix at the end of May, and the first movie in this film series that they are doing that is actually based on a specific story rather than just the franchise as a whole or pulled from pieces of the books. And because of that, we read the book. The Prom Queen was published in 1992 and is book number 15 in the Fear Street series. From my understanding, Fear Street series can be read on their own individually, but you can read it. I think there's some little bits and pieces that you can understand if you read it in order, but
Mhm.
mostly it can be read by itself. The book is about prom queen candidates that are selected for Shady Side High prom, but one brutal murder and another quickly turns this prom into something that no one is looking forward to. Our main character, Lizzie McVeigh, realizes someone is murdering the 5 prom queen candidates one by one, and she might be next. So, I kind of want to get into our ratings that we each got for the book. I want to start with Lindsay.
Okay. So my rating for this book is 4 Scream Queens.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I thought it was. It's all my fault. I thought it was predictable because I knew who it was immediately. But also, I just the characters really got on my nerves. So they
I'm
were.
laughing because I did not know who.
Of course not.
I knew it. I knew that.
Okay,
No,
keep going, Lindsay. I'm sorry.
we all figured that part out
I
too.
didn't want you to think I was laughing at you. I was
Oh, I knew
laughing.
exactly what you were laughing at. They just it played into the whole plot of the story, but these people were really not friends.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So they got on my nerves, but yeah, I really enjoyed the story. I love a good whodunit slasher kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Crystal?
I give it 3 Maria von Trapps. For similar reasons, it was really predictable to me. I knew right away who done it. Like pretty dang instantly I was like, oh, that's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
It was Lindsey, you're like, these girls were not friends. And I'm over here like, I grew up in a small town where even when you weren't friends, if these were the girls in your class, in your age range, you hung out with them if you didn't absolutely freaking hate each other, So I kind of get where they were forced to be friends, to make themselves friends or feel like that's what friendship should be like or is. But it still was really grating on my nerves the way they treated each other. So yeah. Keri.
I gave it 4 shady friends and shady side. I really liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun. I did not predict a damn thing in this book, per usual. I hate myself. I really tried so hard. I really did. I swear.
I love it.
I did. I literally was so shocked.
I was literally reading it and I was like, I wonder if Keri's gonna get this one.
Nope. Absolutely not.
I was reading it
can't wait to
and I
the
was like,
day.
this is so obvious.
I can't wait till the day to be like, you guys, I actually got it this time.
You'll get there. I believe in you.
I was really trying so hard. I was like, oh, I'm so gonna get this. Like, because it's a like
Middle
a
grade.
kid book. No, girl, you are not getting this one again.
There
I
were
really-
tissues and you made me cry.
Oh my gosh, I was so mad at myself. But I also maybe I'm just living my naive life and just enjoying myself. I don't freaking know.
Who
That's the
did
best
you
way to be.
think it was?
I thought the entire time, I had my suspicions that it was Justin.
Of course she did.
But
she loves to blame the guys.
No. It was literally from the very beginning. Like, no joke. The second the guy was introduced, I'm like, it's this guy. This guy right here, it's this guy. The whole time, I'm like, it's always the boyfriend.
Mhm.
It's always this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't.
Yep.
It was not that guy.
They
Nope.
they pushed it a little too hard.
Yeah. Well, they pushed it at the end, and then I was they pushed it hard at the end. They weren't pushing it in the beginning.
It wasn't a push in the beginning, but there's
It was
this
just
scene where they're at the diner or the pizza place, and she sees him outside flirting with a girl, and she runs out there,
Yeah.
and they get in sort of a little confrontation.
Yeah.
So they were like sprinkling it. It was like a
Mhm.
hint.
But then they
Yeah.
sprinkled literally everyone in the story. She's like, it could be this person because blah blah blah, or it could be this person because blah blah. What if it's that person because blah blah blah? And the whole time I'm like, not that person. It's not that person either.
Me, I'm
Not
like,
that person.
well, what if it is?
Oh, Lord.
my god. Oh my gosh. I was having the time of my life reading this. I don't know, maybe I'm just easily pleased. I think also because when I read things outside of my normal genre, I just because you guys are used to reading like a mystery or, catching like clues and things like that. I'm just not
Mhm.
used to reading that.
Mhm.
So I'm just eating it up every time. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just so much fun. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't catch on to any of that. Wow. It's literally like a book for middle schoolers, Keri. What are you doing? But it's fine. Everything's
Keri
fine.
begins hoarding every thrifted Goosebumps and Fear Street for the next
I
20
didn't even
years.
see it coming. It's literally a
she-
Goosebumps book.
Right? 76 books in, she finally gets one. She calls us up. Like,
Oh my
I
god.
got it. We're like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Yeah. No, I did not know who the killer was. So the book is very much it's set in high school. We find out that they are, candidates for prom queen, and then eventually these prom queens are either missing or they're eventually murdered, and our main character, Lizzie, is trying to investigate and see what's going on. And just the way it's written, I feel, in my personal opinion, I feel like it was very fast-paced, and the way that the chapters were, each chapter ended on, like, a little mini cliffhanger
Mhm.
to where you, like, have to keep reading the next chapter.
Yes.
Yep.
And I thought that was super fun, and there's just, like, little silly drama in it and, like, high school drama. So, I don't know, I just think it was, like, a fun little
Mhm.
mystery book. It is kinda, like, corny, but, like, in a fun, like, nostalgic way, if that makes sense. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah, for sure.
What were, like, everyone's, like, main suspects besides who the obvious one was? Just the one?
Literally just the one.
Just the one.
I was like, what was everyone's, who did you think the killer was?
The
No,
killer.
Keri. You're the only one who had, like, ideas. It's fine.
I enjoyed I
Hilarious.
I enjoyed Lizzie, the main character's
Mhm.
like thinking through who the other killers could be. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the parents and the parents' reactions to what was going on and how like different parents were like, you have to be home and they're getting really strict, whereas other parents were like common
Mhm.
sense safety things. I love how, as per usual, all these teenagers do the opposite of common sense safety things when there's a serial killer on the loose.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have to disagree with the parent part because there's the scene in the book with Lizzie when she comes home and her parents are gone, and Justin's just sitting in her kitchen eating cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
What was
weird,
that about?
especially I will say for her parents too, because she was supposedly had the parents that were like super safety conscious
And they had a
parents.
security system and everything, didn't they?
Right. So
That
that
was
was
super
weird that they
weird.
just left some kid sitting in the house. I don't think they did, honestly. I don't think they did. I think he let himself in somehow and was eating cake or whatever. And then she came home and then he left before the parents got home.
Yeah, he's still a weirdo.
He's still a weirdo. Well, he's a
Yeah.
jerk too. He was like cheating on Simone
And
all
just
over the
dating
place.
everyone in the friend group.
It's, like, not okay. If you're gonna do that,
Yeah.
you can't date the same social. You have to like go out of that social circle.
Yeah.
I
Also,
mean,
just don't do that.
He did go out of the social circle. And
Well,
stayed in it. Just dated everyone.
just wherever he could find a date, I guess.
Yeah. So, the movie that's coming out, the screenwriter and director will be different. Producers are the same, which I think is gonna be interesting. Could be good, could be bad.
I
You
wonder
don't know.
when they're gonna set it because this book was in the 90s, was it
It's
not?
gonna
Yeah, it
be
was in the
set in 1980, the spring of 1988. So,
okay.
which is gonna be really interesting because, well, this is supposed to be like a spin-off, but the fact that it's set in 1988 between parts 1 and 2 of the trilogy,
Hmm.
and if you watch the trailer, it shows, like, a little, like, poster of Camp Nightwing really quick.
You would think they would
So,
have closed that camp.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
ain't sending
so
my kid there.
I think maybe it was, like, possibly maybe a poster talking about what happened at Camp Nightwing, or just, like, they came across it or something, like, in the school, but I think it's really interesting that it's between parts 1 and 2, and I'm very curious if they're, instead of following, like, I'm wondering how much they're gonna be following this book.
Right.
And if they're gonna actually associate all this curse stuff that's happening in the original trilogy to, like,
Right.
the killings that actually happened in the book, because there's I mean, I can't really say too much about the curse relating to this book because I haven't read that spin-off series
Hmm.
about the curse and how much it relates to Shady Side,
Or the
but
cheerleaders with Sarah Fear, like, which is a
yeah,
completely different, like,
yeah. So I
right.
can't talk too much about that. and, like, if the curse is related to her Simone, is that her name?
Mhm.
She's the one who killed the prom queens,
It was also
and
spread
why she
out
did
over, like,
that.
6 weeks,
Yeah,
whereas the serial killers that are possessed by Satan, they just kill, 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 kill.
yeah, like,
So
are we gonna have it where Simone is the killer, but it's because she is gonna be somebody that was, like, sacrificed by
right. Or is
one
this
of
gonna
the
be a completely
goods?
different storyline altogether? Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah, so I am curious what they're gonna do with that. I am curious if, like, there's gonna be characters in it that are maybe descendants of, like, the good family?
Mhm.
Maybe? Maybe we might see some characters that we know from parts 1 and 2? What do you guys think? Or do you have any movie predictions?
I honestly I feel like the movies were so loosely inspired by the books
Mhm,
that there's a part of me that's like I kind of have a feeling that this is going to be the same, that this is going to be super loose, like there's going to be a prom and there's going to be a prom queen and there's
mhm,
going to be murder,
yeah,
but maybe that's it, you know, set in shady side.
yeah, yeah, what do you think, Lindsay?
I'm hoping it is more of a direct adaptation. I think it would be really neat to see some characters from the original trilogy. So maybe we see Dina in the background, or Dina and Sam at the beginning of their relationship.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Um, or Nick Good makes an appearance.
I'm thinking he probably will because 'cause he'll be, like, the sheriff.
Hmm. So,
Or maybe he won't.
or his dad,
Yeah.
because well, I guess his dad died in the beginning of 78.
Yeah, so he might be, like, maybe he'll be, like, in training or something.
Right. Yeah. I want to see some nod toward the original trilogy.
Mhm.
So I'm
Yeah.
looking at the cast list and some of the character names are on here and they are not the character names from the book. So though I only recognize one, and that's actually I might be wrong. It's Principal Wayland, but I don't think his name. I don't remember what his name was in the book. But we
I was
got.
kind of
Yeah.
trying to go in blind, but yeah.
I wasn't. I was just kind of looking for character names, and
Yeah, I thought I saw that as well, so I am curious. And
I mean
also,
they
if
might
you
have
notice
just
in the
changed
trailer,
names.
yeah, if you notice in the trailer, there's a lot of, like, prom night going on, and in the book, I think we're hitting 1 page of prom night at the very end.
Yeah,
Like, it's mostly leading up to the prom.
right.
I mean,
Like shopping
it
for
could
dresses
still
and stuff.
technically be like a direct adaptation with just different
Different character
characters.
names. Yeah, it really
But
could be.
yeah,
Yeah. I think that they're gonna try to connect it more to the trilogy.
that's really what I want. I just want a connection.
Yeah, I think they're gonna try to connect it. I think I have a prediction that they're gonna connect it to whoever took the book. Oh wait, no, it won't be because it'll be in between. It won't be at the end
But it
of
might be somebody
1994.
connected to the good family somehow,
Yeah,
or, like,
Hmm.
yeah,
starting to try to piece it together, but
yeah.
because you want to also have the same deal the goods have?
Mhm.
Ooh, who knows?
You know what I wish would have happened? I wish we had, like, in 1994 when we had all, like, the killers
Mhm.
coming together and, like, going after them, we had a killer that we didn't really know, and then that killer, like, came was gonna be the one in Prom Queen, and we got, like and then we could, like, connect that killer to 1994. Does
That
Yeah.
that
could've
make
been cool.
sense? Yeah, I honestly, I want, like, the origin stories of all of them, kinda like how we got the Camp Nightwing one,
Mhm.
and, like, get origin movies of all those killers.
That would
I
be
think that
really
would've
cool.
been really cool,
Mhm.
but yeah. So, anything else? Any other thoughts?
No,
Of
I'm just excited to watch
I know,
this
I'm so
with you
excited. I
guys.
know, we are! We're gonna be meeting for the first time in person and
Yay!
watching this movie together, so that's gonna be so exciting.
I don't have to watch a scary movie alone.
Yeah, we're doing it for Crystal, so she doesn't have to
It's
be by
all for
herself.
me. Thanks.
So that's a wrap on today's episode. We hope you enjoyed diving into Fear Street with us. And feel free to join us when we watch The Prom Queen and cover that as well. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the podcast. We are also on Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. All of our links will be in the show notes below, including a request form to submit adaptation recommendations. And remember, in Shadyside, death doesn't rest, and neither do we. See you in the next chapter of Based on a Book. Bye.
Bye.